For those of you watching the recording, you should have been here live because I missed the short little intro, but welcome everybody. Enjoy the recording. And tonight, what we will be covering off is understanding the New Zealand property market. This is what I will be talking through for you guys tonight. First of all, how do we ensure that the source of information, where we get our knowledge, is the right knowledge that we require to be able to make informed decisions? That's going to be something we're going to start off with tonight. We're going to have a look at some key market indicators. I'm going to talk through a couple of concepts. For those of you that love your graphs and statistics, I've got a couple in there. It's probably not a big part of my investing, but it is important to have an idea as to some of the ideas around what's happening in different spaces within graphs. So we will definitely be touching on that one. I'm going to talk through strategies for the current market, how students are doing deals today. 2 deals went unconditional today, both were sold. Another deal last week went unconditional that a client purchased. There is a couple that have got properties under contract right now. There's people making good money in the current market. I'm going to be able to share with you guys how they're able to do that, different strategies, and I'm going to share with you some current examples that are sold today, as fresh as that. So I'm looking forward to be able to share that with you, and also how I can share with you the ideas around how we can continue to grow and educate yourselves going forward. So definitely we'll be sharing with you guys some of that information. Awesome. Now, what I would like to do before we do go into anything else, before I even introduce myself and tell you a little bit about myself, I want to share with you guys a deal. And I'm going to start off by heading down to the bottom of the country to Invercargill. This is a student who has just recently purchased this property. And I want to start with this, and I'll go into a little bit more detail later on in this power hour as to how these sort of deals are done. But this is the sort of stuff that has been able to be done in the current market in terms of trading. Now, there's many strategies, and I'll share that with you. But this is a deal that a client picked up just last week. Purchased a property at $290,000. Only going to need to spend $38,000. And the sale that this property will achieve conservatively is $430,000. We're talking about creating $55,000 of profit in one deal. And we're not talking about doing $1 million deal to be able to make $55,000 profit. We're talking about a deal that's purchased for under $300,000. And when you start to get your head around the actual return on investment of that, how cool is that? Now, just before we go any further, you guys are awesome in the chat as to where you are, but who wouldn't mind actually just doing one of these deals? Just one of these deals. Bear in mind that you could turn this around in about 3 months and make that sort of profit. Chuck it in the chat and let me know if you wouldn't mind one of those, just so I get a bit of a gauge as to who is here tonight. Cool. Awesome. That's a good start. So now that I've got you guys excited with the kind of deals that are out there in the current market, let me give you a little bit of an introduction as to myself. Now, I know this is not as exciting as the deal in Invercargill, but this is, I need to do this so you guys know that who you're listening to for the next hour or so. So first of all, family is my key driver. I'm very fortunate to have my wife, Karen, and 2 beautiful daughters. And also in August, it'll probably be 3 daughters. We find out next week whether we're having a son or a daughter in August. So family first for me, and everything I do is about creating the best life possible for my family. How we got into property is actually the most bizarre way you could ever imagine. We actually did a reality TV show. Oh, thanks, Viv. And I'm not talking about jumping on the block. We did a show called Our First Home, where we actually renovated a house. You actually go find the house, renovate it, sell it for a profit. And that was about 8 years ago that we did that. And that was my first taster of property. After going through that, I've sought out an education. I wanted to learn more. I came across this company called Wealth Mentor. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of them. So I attended some events that Wealth Mentor was holding, and took on further education with them, got myself trading property full-time, buying properties, became one of their mentors. And then the road from there was actually quite crazy, that I've actually ended up buying Wealth Mentor. And now it's my company. We get to share the knowledge with so many beautiful people. And I love the fact that everybody gets the ability to create the financial security through property that so many people deserve. And that's something that I'm so proud of. And I guess a big mission for us at Wealth Mentor. And lastly, probably not as important as everything else, but I am a big fan of sport, and definitely don't mind jumping on the barbecue whenever I have an opportunity to. whenever you go into doing something, for example, purchasing investment properties, I think it's important to take a step back. Take a step back and start to understand exactly what it is you're doing it for. Because when you start to have a good reason as to your steps, it helps to be able to ensure that you achieve those goals, but also ensure that you understand what is the best course of action to achieve those goals. When I go through and I understand, for me, everything's about family, like I mentioned first, then my strategy needs to be in place to ensure that I can create the life that I desire through property. For me, spending time with my family on the golf course, fishing, and sharing the knowledge with so many people. Not born in New Zealand, moved over from South Africa when I was 13. Managed to ditch the accent. I'm not sure if we've got any South Africans on here. No offense to you, but I managed to ditch my accent. The sacrifice that my parents made in moving is something I'm forever thankful for. And it's something that I absolutely hold dear to me, to be able to make sure that we can continue to create the best life for not only my kids, but also my parents, being able to help them build a portfolio. Currently going through a subdivision on their piece of land that they've got, or should we say their house in Auckland, you can subdivide pretty much anywhere. So we're chopping off a section on their place, and being able to help them on that is truly special. But you're not here to listen about me, you're here to learn about the property market. What is actually going to happen, or what is happening within the New Zealand property market? And I know you're going to love this one. I know, Carol, this is your favorite slides, but pretty much when it comes down to it, guys, I'm going to give you exactly what could happen in the property market. Right now, what will happen in the next couple of months? What we could see is that property market could see a dip. We could see values drop. Maybe we haven't quite reached the trough yet, and values could be ending up at a lower space. Or we start to see a little bit of a rebound. We're coming into a situation where interest rates are starting to level out. People have a little bit more confidence. Potentially, we could see the property market start to rise again. Or we could end up just seeing it stay the same. I mean, I know this sounds like a bit of a silly one, but at the end of the day, we can only look at the fundamentals as to a specific area that we're investing in and make an informed decision. But what we can't do is predict what is going to happen in the market. Yes, there's key indicators, there's things that we look at, but we need to make a decision with our investing that is based on the merit of the property at the time of purchase, rather than looking at what it could become. And when you think about that, actually, I'll repeat that. And if you have a pen and paper handy, write that down. Make your decision based on investment property on what it is in its current situation, rather than what it can become. Because when you start to look at your property investment as in what that property is in its current position, you start to evaluate the property in terms of its value in its current market, what that property could create for you in its current market. And you know what you're not doing is hoping, or other way we could put it is gambling on the property market going up. Now, don't get me wrong, values increase. I understand that over periods of time, and that is something that is very important to understand as well, because there is the creation of long-term wealth through property. If you combine its current position, it definitely gives you the ability to have an informed decision. So making that informed decision, well, that informed decision comes down to, first of all, where are we getting our information from? How are we making our decisions in terms of our investments? And for most people, the source of information, unfortunately, comes down to the New Zealand Herald, stuff.co.nz, I think it's TVNZ or TV1 or whatever they call it as well, the different news channels in terms of what is happening in the property market. So today I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump onto Google and I'm going to Google New Zealand property market. That's all I Google, nice and simple. And this is what came up. Obviously, first of all, I know that CoreLogic does a report around women in property, and I hugely respect them. I can see that there's a number of women on here. I'd like to acknowledge you, International Women's Day. You guys are amazing. And don't tell anybody, but all the women that have gone through our programs are absolutely killing it. So you guys are amazing. But you can see there in terms of when we Google New Zealand property market, a few different articles pop up. But I thought what was hilarious is these ones down the bottom, and I I suppose you're probably potentially on a small screen and can't see that. So I've given you the pleasure of blowing it up for you. Now, how contradicting are these two articles that are 2 days old? They're right next to each other when you Google New Zealand property market. One is telling you, don't expect a GFC level collapse in New Zealand building sector. The other is telling you, New Zealand house prices expectations plummet to new lows as seen in the global financial crisis. So we've got a complete contradiction in terms of what these two articles are saying. And usually what is used in terms of being able to establish how a property market is performing is something called the median price. Who here has heard or hears of the concept of median price? And probably you hear it, but you don't quite comprehend exactly what that means in terms of the property market. And often I personally believe it's a way that articles can be written or twisted to tell a different story from potentially what is happening. Thank you very much for jumping in the chat. I do love it when people jump in the chat. It does certainly help. So please keep that going. I really appreciate it. Let's see if I can Repeti. Hope I've said that right, but thank you for jumping in the chat. Let me show you exactly what I mean in terms of the definition of median price.
Really pity, Jono. Really pity. Kia ora.
Thank you. All right, so the definition of median. I'm just going to read this off for you. The median house price is the sale price of the middle home in a list of properties ranked from highest sale price to lowest over a set period of time. So what that essentially means is in a situation like we've got right there, which apologies, we've got a slight typo in where the commas are on that one. But if we have houses that are sold from $950,000 down to $630,000, sorry for those of you that like precise numbers, you've got a bit of a gap there in terms of the actual numbers that we've got. So then what we do is they've taken the median price. Now the median price in this situation is $719,000 because that is the middle house sale price. But what about if we ended up having a situation where, let's say, 5 properties sold at $1 million, suddenly the median would be sitting up around 900 or probably around $1 million. And you can see how this is skewed. Oh, my camera's doing all sorts of crazy things, getting a tour of my office at the same time. Let me fix that up for you guys. Apologies on that. There we go. So you can see how when it comes to this, it gives you the ability for median price to kind of be a little bit skewed. That happens because I've got a camera that reads hand signals. So when I swing my hands around too much, it follows me. Let me show you how median sale price in a situation where developments are happening can really affect the property market. This here is in terms of if we had a property that was sold, so let's say that you had one property sold for $3 million, one piece of land. Now on that piece of land is one house, and that house has a large piece of land. We're talking about 2,500 square meters of land, and you can chop it down into 300. Now, a developer buys that for $3 million. So when they purchase that property for $3 million, you can see how the median sale price wouldn't be overly skewed because you've just got one sale price at an inflated value. But if then that same property, that same bit of section is then sold individually, which a developer would do, and they would probably sell each one, let's say for $1 million, each sold individually, suddenly you've now got 8 sales at $1 million compared to one sale at $3 million. And you can see how this can drastically adjust the actual median sale price. And this happened a lot, pretty much between that sort of 2020 mark, maybe 2019 mark, up to about that 2021, where we started to see a shift in the market, where often these numbers were used to give, I guess, almost false ideas around what is happening within the market. You can see as soon as we start to understand that. So when you start to have infill development is when you start to have houses on existing land infill, it can skew the numbers. And I can see a comment there from Jody in terms of how Homes estimates, even though, yeah, I love Homes. Homes is a great tool, but remember, Homes is just an algorithm that takes sales in the recent area and will establish a value. So please do not rely on Homes to do that. And also, I'm not sure if you know this, but if you don't, and you probably need to, that homes can be adjusted. If there's a value on there and you want to get that adjusted, that can be done as well. So never take homes as your source of information, FYI. Right, so I've given you the concept of median. Now, really think about that next time you read some of the articles on the different websites. When they talk about median value or median rents, how is that actually impacted within the property market? So tonight, I said I would share with you some market conditions. Now, I realize, guys, I'm throwing as much information as I can. I've only got an hour with you. Now, obviously with Wealth Mentor, we do have further education. I'd love to spend more time with you guys. So I'll share a little bit of information with you later on around how that can be done. But anyway, I'm going to share as much information as I can with you in this next hour, and hopefully you absorb as much of it as you can. Let's jump into having a look at a couple of market considerations. Now, the first one that I'm going to talk about is one that I know is probably not talked about enough, and how bad it really is. And that is emergency housing. When we actually start to understand the scale of how bad the situation is in terms of emergency housing, it starts to give you a bit of a comprehension as to how short of houses we actually are within New Zealand. With emergency housing, here's a couple of numbers for you guys. We currently have approximately 30,000 people living in either hotels or motels. It is a sensational number. And you know what that is costing? It's costing $1 million per day. $1 million per day. When you start to understand these numbers, it's pretty exceptional. I'm not sure that's a word, but crazy. All right. And the fact is that we actually have a situation in New Zealand right now where we still have a housing shortage. Now, you might be saying to me, John, how do we have a housing shortage when the property market is dropping backwards? Well, we still have a shortage of people needing housing. Doesn't necessarily mean they can afford it, because housing affordability and short of housing are different beasts. But we still have a shortage of housing. And the latest stats that we've gotten is that we're over 100,000 houses short still in New Zealand. Over 100,000 houses short. So we've got emergency housing, plus the fact is we've got a huge shortage of houses. But then the fascinating thing is you look at the fact that we have a huge shortage of housing, but when you jump on to have a look at Trade Me stock currently, Trade Me stock is actually up 25% from what it was a year ago. Stock on Trade Me is up 25% from what it was a year ago. So there's 30,000 houses available on Trade Me. And I'm not sure if you guys can see these numbers, because I realize some of them might be a bit small, but there's a couple that I'd like to point out. First of all, Auckland's actually only up 4% from a year ago. Only up 4%. So there's still a shortage of housing in New Zealand. But when we see some of the other areas, we got some that are up 100%. Wellington's actually down on stock from a year ago, which is fascinating. But what this essentially tells me, or I guess puts forward to me and all my clients and students, we have an opportunity right now as a buyer to control and have more opportunities to get a better deal on property. So right now is the opportunity that we are all require or need right now to get into the property market. Some of you might say, well, we can't afford it. We don't have the ability. The last deal that I did, $0 went in it. There is the ability to do deals without money, but it just comes down to knowledge. Right now, there's a lot of stock in the market. Let's carry on with our market considerations. Talk through emergency housing, talk through housing shortage. But the actual fact of the matter is, in terms of rental properties, we still actually have a shortage in New Zealand that is actually creating quite a growth within the rental market. Any property that goes up for rent, there is a lot of people turning up to rent it. I've heard of there's still 10 people looking for rentals. There's a house not too far from where I'm living that's just gone up for rent. There has been a lot of people go through that looking for a house. There is still a shortage of housing, and what we've been seeing because of the shortage, plus the situation where we've seen more costs and legislation pushed onto landlords, what we've ended up actually seeing is an increase in rental prices. So we can see there a 4% increase since January over the last year. My personal opinion, and I don't want you to take this for gospel and say Jono said so it has to happen, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to see it happen, is that we'll continue to see that number rise quite, not drastically, but it will continue to rise over the next year, maybe even further. My reasoning behind that, rental prices have actually not kept up with inflation. And I realize affordability is key, but rental prices have not kept up with inflation, plus all the extra costs legislation that have been put onto landlords have pushed a lot of landlords that potentially didn't know what they were doing and not buying the right types of property out of the market, and in turn creating more of a shortage. And more of a shortage means a more demand, which in turn generally leads to the price of the product, in this time, rent, going up. Here's a couple of extra numbers that you can see there in terms of rental price index. I pulled this off TradeMe, so if you want to jump on and have a look, these are very recent stats that are on TradeMe, which you can pull up. Cool. Hope you guys are enjoying everything so far. I'm certainly having a great time jumping in and talking through this stuff. Let's jump on to the next part of it. And this probably relates quite a bit to what we've just talked about. And that is in terms of vacancy rates. Do you know that vacancy rates in New Zealand are less than 1%? So when you are following a strategy, which is to buy a property that you can rent out to a party, you should not have any issue in renting that out. How good is it to be able to go into business to buy a product that you are going to rent out, knowing that you've got demand? We call it demonstrable demand. That for me is something that I really want you to consider, because in any business, already having your customers lining up at the door is something that you always want to have. And this is the case within rental properties. And I think it's only going to get worse because we're now seeing more people coming into New Zealand. There's talk currently that unemployment numbers will rise. That's going to be because there's going to be more people coming into New Zealand, more people entering the workforce, and that'll rise it. So we probably won't see a lot of redundancies, but what we'll see is less people starting to come up. Fascinating there from Carol, 50+ people turning up to rental viewings in Northland, which is amazing. And when we actually, I'm going to skip back a couple of slides, or one slide, I hope you don't mind. Northland, you can see there is up 16% in terms of its rental price index. Again, demand equals the situation. All right, back to vacancy rates. We've got less than 1% of vacancy rates. On top of that, guys, we've got the borders opening, which again changes things. Now, there's another part that I really want you to consider whenever you think about what is happening within the property market, and that is the timing of statistics. The timing of statistics, or the timing of when data is entered in terms of what is happening within a property transaction. So when a property transaction happens, generally from the time that an offer is made to the time that the property is paid for, and I'm just estimating here, is probably around 6 weeks, sometimes about slightly longer, maybe 8 weeks, maybe even up to 10 weeks. So we're talking about anywhere from sort of a month and a half to 3 months, should we say, from the time that a property has an offer on it to the time that the person who made that offer purchases the property. So really what we need to think about is all the stats that we're getting now are actually 3 months old. So consider that in terms of the timing of when those offers were made. Right now, we're seeing a little bit more, a bit quieter, because a lot of the stuff that is happening now is stuff that was potentially done around Christmas period, January time, when there's a lot less happening. Definitely want to consider that in terms of all of your numbers when you're looking at the property market. And then the other thing that we need to consider is in terms of the OCR and interest rates. Interest rates right now are at a number that a lot of people are saying is really high. We've got high interest rates. They are high compared to a historic low. I'll say that again. Interest rates are high compared to a historic low. We went through a period where we had 2.19, 2.3% interest rates. That is not normal to have interest rates that low. That just does not operate for the economy. We're now seeing interest rates at that 6%, maybe 7%. To be honest with you all, that is normal. And that are numbers that you still need to be able to make your deals work with those interest rates. If you can get your head around the fact that the cost of money is not the key principle, it's the strength of the deal. The cost of money is not the key principle, it's the strength of the deal. I've got some of our students paying up to 30% interest. I know that's going to probably scare some of you, but it's true, up to 30% interest because the deal is strong. Yeah, absolutely, Jody. It's just back to where we are. So here's a couple of the interest rates, guys. You can see they're in the 6 and 7. I'm going to prove my point and Jody's point right now. We can see here, oh, there we go. What's that, from 1998 through to 2021? We're all in that sort of 6 to 8 mark, and a historic low where we hit that 2 and a bit percent, 3%. So get your head around the fact that interest rates are not high, they're just normal. And when you start to run your numbers based on the fact around that, then you actually realize, well, we've got a situation where we've got more stock on the market than we've had in a very long time. Interest rates are at a normal rate if you think of it logically and not think about it in terms of the media harping on about how high interest rates are. Is now not a great time to be looking for those investment properties? Is now not the best time to be purchasing deals where you buy below value? Now, one thing I probably should have mentioned before, at Wealth Mentor, we do not sell you property. I am purely going to educate you guys how to do this and how to go and find the deals and how to best do it. I'm not going to at the end of this go, hey, check out this property, you can buy it off the plan, and in 2 years' time, hopefully it's worth this. Definitely not. That's against all the values that I'm about. I'm going to teach you and talk to you guys about how you can actually make sure you can do this. So again, interest rates, pretty much where we're at. And now we get to the real fun part, because this is the cynical part in terms of the property market. And that is on October the 14th, which is not that far away, only, what are we talking, 6 months and 24 days, we have an election. And in that, it's just a guess of the numbers, it's not actually that. We've got an election coming up. An election year brings different complexities within the property market as well. So definitely consider what is potentially going to be coming up, because could we see it looking likely, I would assume, a change in government, which will change some legislation around what a landlord is able to do in terms of running their business. That there, as soon as that changes, or if that changes, which is likely, we will suddenly see a lot more investors come into the market. And when you see investors come into the market, that starts to shift things as well. So I guess what I'm getting at is I believe right now for everybody is the best time to be purchasing. I seriously believe right now, if you're considering the ability of getting into the property market, get yourself educated and take the opportunity right now. Absolutely, Jody, absolutely. So I've got a couple of questions I'd like to ask you guys. I've talked quite a bit about the fact that I believe there's an opportunity. So my question to you is, how long will the opportunity be here for? How long is this going to be here before all of a sudden we go, who has heard this before? Oh, I wish I'd bought a property back in, this one time I had the opportunity to buy a property. Oh, do you remember when property prices were? We hear that all the time. And property often comes with regrets. The best time to buy property? Yes, it was, well, before the boom. Talking about 2019, maybe even earlier. Yes, it was. But when's the best time realistically? It's right now. It's right now where we've got an opportunity where there's more stock, less buyers in the market, and we have the ability to go out and purchase ourselves the opportunities. But then are you prepared for the opportunity? Do we actually understand how we are going to be able to do this deal? Or the fundamentals, I guess, around what strategy we're going to implement to be able to do the deal? Because in my personal opinion, right now, we've seen the property market at a position where it's starting to flatten out a little bit. We've seen that a lot within a lot of the areas, and I'll come to exactly why I mentioned a lot of the areas very shortly. But when you look at historic data in terms of the last hundreds of years, what has actually happened within the market? We will see dips, but what we do see is that on average, properties are still doubling in value every 7 to 10 years. We're seeing values increasing. Yes, we have situations where there's dips, but it recovers. We hit those troughs and we come out of it and we start to go on the upwards. That is the position that is going to start to happen soon. There's a lot of talk around it with people in the know, not just the Herald, people in the know around that situation. Now, I find it interesting as well when we have a look at where we're at in terms of the New Zealand Property Price Index right now. If I was to say to you, you need to go and buy what can I think of? A new frying pan. You're going to go buy a new frying pan and you're probably going to go to Briscoe's, probably Kmart, but let's say Briscoe's. Are you going to go to Briscoe's and pay full price? Probably not. Briscoe's has a sale every 2 days, it feels like. So you're going to go and purchase a frying pan when Briscoe's has a sale. So you wouldn't buy a frying pan. I don't know why I've gone frying pan. That was not part of my plan prior to tonight. But you wouldn't buy a frying pan just because you needed one and at full price. You would wait for it to go on sale. The same thing should apply to property, but it doesn't. Because people's logic go, oh, but property prices are going down. It must be a terrible time to buy. No, it's the best time to buy because values are lower than what they should be. And it's an opportunity to be able to purchase below value, which is in turn purchasing wealth. But now I'm going to lead on to one of my key principles, because we look at this graph and we can see it dipping down in terms of what's happening in the area and in New Zealand as a whole. But then we can have a look at the fact that we've got, is it 10 suburbs here? I think it is over 19 suburbs that have seen an increase in their values of over 10% in the last 12 months. You hear all this doom and gloom in terms of the New Zealand property market, but then we have a look at that within small areas, or not necessarily even small areas, but in small pockets, we're seeing values that are increasing. So my key principle, and I'm going to come back to this, guys, do not take what is happening in the whole of the country and apply it to your pocket that you're investing in or purchasing in, or your strategy that you're implementing, because it is different for every area, different every strategy in terms of the whole market. Please focus on your area and try to cut out the noise. Now, in terms of strategy, well, how do you decide what strategy? I'm going to give you guys a couple of strategies that I think are really just juicy right now. But how do we determine strategy? It comes back to what it is that you want to create out of property. I shared with you guys earlier, for me, it's about family. It's about creating more time with my family. It's about creating the best life for my family. My strategies that I implement with buying multiple buy and holds, by trading property, it gives me the ability to create that for my family. So, love the saying. Don't just buy off the plan. Don't just buy off the plan. Have a plan. Have a plan as to what you are looking to achieve. What is the type of property that you're going to be looking to buy? How are you best going to get you to your end goals? Now, I'm only going to pop this up once, so if you want to grab this, you better jump on it quick. But if you want to have a chat about your strategies, there is a QR code right there. Scan your phone, and you can book a call with me. It's only going to be on one slide, so you better be quick because it's not going to last very long. But the key is, guys, don't just buy it, but have a plan. Understand exactly what you're going to be doing to achieve your end goals. And I mentioned I would share with you guys exactly strategies that I believe are going to work in the market right now. And here they are. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys some deals that are happening today that will give you a bit of an idea. Oh, did the QR code not come up, team? Oh, that's bizarre. Bottom left-hand corner. Oh, Cool. There we go. So let's have a look at some strategies that are going to work right now. I mentioned that there's a couple of deals that are happening in the current market. I'm going to show you guys those ones. Here are the two that I believe. Number one, right now, there is the most active buyers in the market are first and second home buyers. The most active buyers in the market right now are first and second home buyers. First and second home buyers are also getting lending through mainstream banks. Mainstream banks are not very, should we say, positive on the idea of buying properties that have a lot of issues, distressed properties, properties that need renovations, bringing them up to even healthy home standards. So being able to purchase those properties that are not going to work for a first home buyer, be able to bring them up to standard or bring them up to whatever the market desires or deserves or demands, and then selling that onto a home buyer so that they can get the property that they desire. Yes, you're making a profit because you're creating a product that somebody needs, but it's a great strategy in the current market to be able to make nice little bits of profit along the way. And it's a strategy that is working. Now, caveat, area dependent. Is there actually home buyers active in the market? Is there demand? Is there the ability to be able to pop product on the market and people will be looking for it? These are the things that you want to consider. Oh, I'm spitting a lot at you tonight. I'm sorry, guys. I hope that you're absorbing as much of this as you can. I realize I've actually given way more in-depth than I had planned. The second strategy that I'd like you guys to consider is the ability to buy a property that has a high yield. So we're talking about a lot of rent compared to its purchase price, with the ability to have future developments. Because what you're doing then is you're buying land, which land we know is not being made any more land. We're buying land, which then gives us the ability to future develop. We've got a property on that land that is creating a high yield, which means we're getting a lot of rent compared to purchase price. So it's at least either washing its face or creating cash flow in the current market, but you're buying it at a discounted rate with all this land that's going to be able to be developed once we see changes or once the market shifts. Two strategies I think that are key right now. I hope those work for everybody, or consider those strategies, because I think they are key to creating some serious wealth in the current market. So the strategies that you could be looking to implement, all the way from owning a home up to developments. The key is understanding what is going to be the best strategy for your goals. And during we run a 2-day masterclass. I honestly believe it is the best 2 days that you could ever spend in terms of property. You get to hang out with myself, my mentors, Carol's there. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But we go into all the different strategies in a lot more in-depth. And we also ensure that we spend some time one-on-one with you guys to work through your situation and what strategies are going to be best. So I'll share some details with you later on that one. And make sure you're ready, because I've got five tickets that are super discounted for you guys today, and I've only got 5 of them, so you pay attention when they do pop up. When you are able to follow a principle of creating wealth, or understanding the ability to buy property lower than its worth, add value to it, and create create equity, it gives you the ability to be able to ensure that you are creating wealth. Great question there. I'll get to that one, Racy, really shortly. The ability to buy property below what it's worth, adding value, is going to create your wealth. You can either refinance it, keep the property on, or you can sell it. This is confusing you. Don't worry. You need to be at our masterclass. We'll explain this in detail and ensure that we give you guys the details. But it comes back to buy property as though prices will never increase in value. If you haven't written that one down, I would suggest you write it down. Right, time to share with you guys a deal. I know that some of you are really excited to be jumping in and having a look at some of the deals. This first one here is a multi-income that one of our students purchased late last year. Late last year. Property was purchased 733. Now, that's a decent purchase price. Not all purchases need to be at that level. Some of them might be higher depending on strategies. The property required a renovation. You had 2 3-bedroom houses essentially within this dwelling. The property creates $13,000 of cash flow. Now, what is cash flow? That is when you can take your rent less every expense that you've got in terms of the property. That is mortgage, rates, insurance, maintenance, management, all your expenses taken off, and what is left at the end of it. If you're purchasing a property that has enough rent, or after all expenses, then to still have a $13,000 per year of income rolling into your bank account, that's $1,000 plus per month. This property as well had a valuation done after it was renovated at $950. That's like $180,000 of wealth created. Everybody likes asking about taxes, absolutely. So interest deduction does come into this. And this is where finding a strategy where interest deduction can be either not be able to be claimed or be able to run it within your numbers. Jody, I'd love to go into a bit more detail around it, but I didn't want to go too far on this. We do cover it in our masterclass, but yes, definitely want to be considering your taxes. But I'm also going to throw another thing at you, Jody. Before you worry about taxes, we need to worry about earning money. So if we can make money, then we can ensure paying taxes, because you know what my goal is? To get as big a tax bill as possible at the end of every year. I'll leave that with you. You'll just think I'm crazy. This property here was actually purchased at 100% lending. So absolutely, Jody. $733,000 was borrowed. All of that money was borrowed because they had security of other houses. And I don't get into it now, but they borrowed all the money and still created $1,000 plus per year of cash flow. And yes, even if you're working 40 hours per week, you're going to pay tax on that one. So you might as well get an asset working for you rather than you working for yourself. When it comes to property, I truly believe that growth is just a beautiful byproduct of your investing. And when you can focus on your investing, not solely reliant on your growth, but reliant on either your property being cash flow positive or the equity creation in the property, then you have the ability to create real wealth. And then growth is just a beautiful byproduct. I'll share with you one of our students, Tor. Tor built a portfolio. He lived in Adelaide, built a portfolio through Gisborne. He was able to build a substantial portfolio. Now, I just want to clarify a couple of his numbers. Purchase including reno, that is the full purchase price. That's not including any lending. Bear in mind that he would have got lending on approximately 60% of his portfolio initially. But we're talking about being able to borrow or purchase property, doubles in value, and now has a cash flow of $150,000 per year. He now has the ability to be able to live off his income from his properties, and is certainly living a good life. He heads over to New Zealand occasionally. He says to do some work on his properties, but I think it's just a fly fish, to be honest. There's a bit of a look at his portfolio as to what he's been able to create. Tor attended our masterclass. He had no properties when he attended our masterclass back in 2016. So really, 2018. So really cool to see what Tor has been able to create. Before I show you guys a couple of the other deals, and I've still got, I think, 3 more deals to share with you guys tonight. I got a lot. Don't know how we're going to get in the hour. But I have mentioned that we've got our property masterclass coming up. I would love to have you guys jump in and join us for this event. Now, I've mentioned that we actually have 5 at a really great offer. So if anybody is heading across and keen to join us on this masterclass, when you head over to the page, there's a big button that says coupon code. Please put in there PMC. Property Masterclass, PMC5. Oh, my camera's doing a bit of a jiggle again. PMC5, and that'll be able to give you the ability to get the tickets at a hugely discounted rate. PMC5 is a QR code there for you guys, and I'm sure Carol will chuck a link in for you guys really shortly. Now, I'm excited to share this with you because I told you that a deal settled today. I got a message from one of our students. He's based in Melbourne. He did this deal in Timaru, and he messaged me tonight at 5:15 to say that he's just sold it. That's how fresh it is. What is that? Only a few hours ago. He purchased his property for $160,000. He sold for $220,000. He made $39,000 of profit. He spent, I think it's about $2,000 on his renovation. That was including a bit of a tidy up of the place and putting a door handle on. How cool to see, yes, Tim from Timaru, I love it. How cool to see what Tim was able to create. $39,000 from one deal at $160,000. Tim attended our masterclass about 2 years ago. He no longer works. He is just doing property full time. And so cool to see what he has been able to do with this deal. Tim will actually be at our masterclass as well and talking through exactly what he was able to do and how he was able to create $39,000 of profit without even doing a renovation. It's beautiful, isn't it? The property. Well, we could say so, I guess. When it comes to property, don't need to follow everybody else's journey. Everybody's journey is different. When we educate our students, we ensure that we teach them the skills to be able to make the decisions for their own investing, and we support them through their way. Everybody's journey is different, but when you have the knowledge, it's going to reduce the risk and speed up the results. This is a deal that I've just completed recently. This deal is in the final bits of its negotiations. I thought I would have the ability to tell you guys tonight that it is sold, but it should be sold first thing tomorrow morning. So those of you attending the masterclass, I'll give you all the numbers, but it's pretty much good as gone. But I can't give you the exact numbers because it isn't actually unconditional. That should be first thing tomorrow morning. But this property here, it's in South Auckland. That was purchased for $575,000. You can see the asking price there to give you a bit of an idea as to what sort of profit margin I was able to get on this deal. And like I mentioned before, slide not coming up. Oh, how's that one, team? Does that come up? Yes, cool. That's a bit weird. Not sure what happened there. What could you see, by the way? My desktop? No, it's a bit of a mess at the moment. Anyway, so this deal here, $55,000 renovation on this one. And I will be able to share with you guys that attend the masterclass the exact numbers on this one. Or actually, if you jump on Instagram, flick me a message tomorrow morning and I'll be able to tell you what profit margin we made on it. This one here was a good little reno and a bit of fun to turn it around. So looking forward to the next one. Comes back down to it, guys. Are you prepared for the opportunity that we've got right now? Are you prepared? And I'm going to leave you with this concept. When you understand what your goal is, we can implement a strategy that's going to get you to your end goal. By having training in that strategy and understanding what strategy you're implementing with the knowledge behind you, you can then go to an area that is going to give you the best result for that strategy. You research that area, you understand that area. Remember, I've talked about it, understand your pocket. When you start to understand your pocket, then you have the ability to get in and understand what you're purchasing, how the numbers work, and then we have the ability to transact. Then we have the ability to make the purchases, make the deals happen. Comes back down to understand your strategy, train yourself, get the knowledge behind what you're doing, understand your area, research it, and then the transaction will come a part of it. Follow those principles and you certainly will see the results. Now, we are reaching the end of the power hour. Before I do finish up, I'd love to share with you guys a little bit about what we actually do cover off during our masterclass. And for those of you that headed across and checked out the awesome deal that I do have for you guys tonight, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you at the masterclass in a few weeks' time. But we do cover off a lot of different strategies. Now, the strategies that we cover off is to ensure that everybody has a clear indication as to how they can implement their investing. Even if you're looking to purchase your own home, the minor expense that you will spend on coming to spend a couple of days with the team will give you the ability to make a more informed decision, and you guarantee you will get a better deal on the property that you're looking to purchase. You will understand what you're doing and be able to make a more informed decision. You can see that we cover a lot, from developments to cash flow to finance. How do we fund these deals? How do we ensure taxes? There we go. Jody, we can learn all about taxes. How to be tax efficient, how to negotiate. Carol's on here tonight, guys. She covers off social housing. If you use social housing as a strategy, you can claim your interest as a deduction. There's a huge tax benefit, but we need to understand the knowledge behind it. So we cover all these off within the couple of days at the masterclass. We ensure that everybody has a bespoke experience going through it. We have one-on-one time where you work through your strategy as well. We actually have a session, I'm getting ahead of myself, during the masterclass where you get one-on-one time with a mentor, either myself or people like Belinda or Therese or the other mentors, where you actually get to have some one-on-one time with these mentors working through your strategy. These are some of the mentors that we do have on our team. Helen, she's an accounting specialist as well as an insane developer. Belinda, you guys will absolutely love Belinda and her knowledge of what she's been able to achieve. Carol's here, she's awesome. We all know that. Ryan is our economist. He puts into perspective all the stuff that I talked about tonight in an even more logical concept and talks about that. Therese is going to be there. She's based in Queenstown. She's amazing. Mary, I'm sure you will agree with me there. Therese is absolutely sensational. And she will be there as well to share her knowledge, and I'll be there as well to be able to share with you guys some of the knowledge. There's an amazing amount of really cool quotes or I guess comments that we get from people in terms of attending the masterclass. Is something that we are so proud of. Now, I did mention that I only have 5 options for you guys to attend these dates right here. So QR code in case you haven't got it yet. Carol, do you mind popping the link into the chat for the team? That would be amazing. Thank you. Awesome. I'll jump onto that question at the end of tonight, if that's cool. I'd love to answer that for you. Here is what we actually cover off during the masterclass. So you get your 2 days. You actually get a strategy consultation during the event, which I was talking about, that hour, half an hour with the mentor. As well as that, we've got online resources. We've got a portal that you guys get access to, a whole lot of information that is there for you guys for life. You get that access. You get support from Wealth Mentor going forward. We're there to support you in all your investing journey. And as well as that, leading up to the event, you get a strategy call with the wonderful Carol, who obviously is here tonight. You get to have a chat to Carol, understand a little bit more around strategies that you're going to be implementing and how you can best get the best from the masterclass in terms of taking your investing forward. I mentioned it's a cracker deal. We're talking about less than $150 per day, less than $150 a day to spend with the Wealth Mentor team. I've only got 5 up for grabs. That's why it's PMC 5. After the 5th one, that link will expire and there will be no more at that price. And you'll see the full price there on the website when you hit across. So please make sure you pop in PMC 5. You definitely want to be jumping on to that opportunity. There's the QR code again. Remember the kind of deals that can be done. Talking about one deal that creates $55,000 of profit. Yes, there you need to pay tax on it. Yes. But wouldn't you like to know how you can be tax efficient with this? And it gets even better. Because with everybody that gets themselves a ticket to the masterclass, we're going to throw in an opportunity to bring a friend along for free. So that's essentially 2 tickets for the price, which is going to be definitely an opportunity to be able to make sure that you get the most out of the time at the masterclass. Jody, I can answer that question for you as well when we get a little bit further as well. So again, all the inclusions, the strategy call, the online portal, the support from Wealth Mentor going forward. We've got 5 tickets at that price there. Now, this is a huge opportunity at that price. Usually $40.97, guys. That really is a huge opportunity. Now, before I let you all go tonight, it's been so good to present to you. I hope you've enjoyed it and learned something. Key takeaway. Actually, while I'm doing this key takeaway, for those of you that have attended the masterclass, I can see a couple of your names there. Can you jump in the chat and tell people what you thought of your 2 days at the masterclass, please? Mary, Scott, you're the couple that I can see. If you guys can do that, that would be amazing. But the key takeaway from tonight, guys, understand when you're investing that you know your area. You understand the area that you're investing in, how your strategy that you're implementing within your area works. Because when you understand your area, you will ensure that you are making informed decisions. And that is going to give you the ability to create the wealth. Know your area and know your strategy. Because you know what? We don't actually know what could be happening in the market. We don't actually know. It's time to act. Grab your place, guys. We're talking about five spots. And you know what I'm going to do as well? If at any stage during the masterclass, you're like, you know what, Jono, this is not for us, then no worries, we will refund you that money as well. $295. We can't go wrong to come and spend a couple of days with the Wealth Mentor team. So time to decide which path are we going to take. And this is going to probably hit home a little bit. Are we going to do nothing and keep doing what we've always done? I don't know about you guys, but my mates have been complaining a lot about the traffic recently. Not that I would know, but I heard the traffic is pretty bad around Auckland. And for those of you in Auckland, you're going to keep turning up, getting in the car every morning, heading to work, or we're going to take action and invest and start to grow and start to change. Time is now. I know there's a couple of questions. Once we finish up tonight, I'll hang around for those of you that are live that have any questions and answer those for you. No problem. Thanks again for joining us tonight. It has been fantastic. I hope you've learned something and hope you take something away and keep growing on your investing. And most importantly, guys, make sure that you always stay awesome. Good night, everybody.